Journey with a Cinephile presents.
She went to Neverland. And you can visit her anytime you like.
3, 4 years ago.
Everything in this room is eatable. Even I'm eatable. But that is called cannibalism, my dear children, and is in fact frowned upon in most societies.
Depp Dive, a Depper look into Johnny's feature filmography.
I think you dropped this.
Look what I got. I got a jar of dirt. I got a jar of dirt. And guess what's inside it?
You may kill me, but you may never insult me. Who am I? Captain Jack Sparrow.
Episode 15, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Corpse Bride. Hello and welcome listeners to Journey with a Cinephile presents Depp Dive, a Depper look at Johnny's feature filmography. I am one half of your hosting duo here, David Garrett Jr., and I am joined by my better half,
Jamie Frisch Garrett.
And this is episode number 15. So this is going to be actually interesting here. We've kind of already let you look behind the curtain of when we record these things, so it'll be kind of interesting when we actually get to recording the next review. But first, I'll actually just got to say, how are you doing right now?
Great.
Yeah, because by the time this gets released, we'll definitely have sequel
kids,
will be
yeah.
born. Yep.
We'll be able to tell you if it's a boy or girl.
And we don't know when this episode is actually coming out.
We really don't. So we're trying to get ahead of it.
Yeah.
But
we also try to make it so like when we actually want to watch the movies, because I mean we've kind of kicked the can that like we might start watching these in February, and because we just don't know when you're going to have time.
When the baby's going to be born.
Yeah.
And we like to do pre-recordings of the intro at least, just because.
Well, when we sit down and watch a movie, we don't want to record the intro and kind of talk
right
about.
Then, yeah. So still pregnant, but baby's due late February. So
yep,
still doing fine. Just ready to pop this sucker out.
Go. So then, this episode here, we have, as if you listened to the last one, you already know, but it's going to be a first-time watch for me of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Mm-hmm. You've seen this one a good handful of times.
Yes, I have.
And the other one, like I said on the end of the last one, I think I've seen Corpse Bride all the way through once. I know we've watched a little bit of it, because you put it on for Mackenzie.
Yeah, she didn't like it.
Because she...
There's no colors.
Yeah, it was also weird when you put it on, because she wasn't necessarily liking anything at that point, so like... So this would be an interesting one that we might be able to try watching with her at some point as well.
Probably.
Because she likes Nightmare Before Christmas now.
Yeah.
And it's the same exact animation.
That's true. I don't know. There's not... Maybe.
But she likes spooky stuff, too. Thanks to my office.
There's just not a lot of color.
Yeah, but I mean, there's not a lot of color in Nightmare Before Christmas.
See.
Until they go to Christmas Town, and they're not really in Christmas Town that long.
That's fair.
But anyways, yeah, so I guess anything else you want to talk about here for this intro?
I'm curious to have you watch Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, me too.
Because it's quirky.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm a big fan of the Gene Wilder one.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I actually like the Timothée Chalamet one as well.
Yep. I like those too. This one
does
a different take on it.
I've seen a good portion of this movie before.
It's just a different take on it because it's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory,
which is the book.
Not Willy Wonka. So, it's more based on the book because I've recently listened to the book. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, so it has a little bit more...
Well, that's the name of the book, though. It was actually Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, not Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different of a take on it.
I get to see my boy Freddie Highmore again.
Oh, okay.
What up?
He just did weird things with his hands, and
he was
uncomfortable.
He was in the Psycho Bates Motel show. He plays Norman. He's my boy.
He's the boy that just played...
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, like he's an adult now. I don't know if you knew that.
He still looks like a little kid.
I mean, he
looks like an awkward teen.
He has a baby face, but I mean, he's an adult. He's been an adult for a while. That's where I met a little...
Like 15? 16?
He's like 25.
Oh, I don't know about that. He's 12.
Okay. But that's also... That show is where I first got introduced to Olivia Cooke. I like her, too.
Okay.
She's in House of Dragons, even though you haven't caught up yet, so I can't watch it.
Ugh, too tired.
Anyway, so anything else we want to say here before we jump over to the trailer and then start discussing Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
No, I'm actually excited for these. Now we're getting into a sweet spot where I've seen everything and probably
for at least a good little
line
run
by
here.
line.
Yeah.
I think the next at least 6 movies.
Yeah, that's fair.
No, let's
Yeah, because
watch
I mean,
them.
after this one, there's a run here for at least the next, 5 I've seen, outside of this next one.
Okay.
All right, well then let's go over then to a brief break, and we'll get back after this trailer.
Have you ever seen a single person going into that factory?
There must be people working there.
The only thing that comes out of that place is the candy. I'd give anything in the world just to go in that amazing factory.
Dear people of the world, I, Willy Wonka, have decided to allow 5 children to visit my factory.
5 golden tickets have been hidden underneath the wrapping paper of 5 ordinary Wonka bars.
Wouldn't it be something, Charlie, to open a bar of candy and find a golden ticket?
But I only get 1 bar a year.
Nothing's impossible.
You found Wonka's last golden ticket.
From director Tim Burton.
Please enter.
Who are you?
He's Willy Wonka.
I'm Violet Beauregard.
I don't care.
I want my first loop. I love the chocolate.
I can see that.
I'm Veruca Salt. Daddy, I want another pony.
You're Mike TV.
Die!
Okay. And you. Well, you're just lucky to be here, aren't you? Welcome to the factory.
Warner Brothers invites you to enter a whole new world. Unlike anything you've ever imagined.
It's beautiful.
Where dreams are your reality.
Look over there.
They're Oompa Loompas.
Back off, you little freaks.
I do say that all seemed rather rehearsed.
You're really weird.
And Willy Wonka...
Let's boogie.
...is your guide.
Ew.
5 lucky kids will follow in his footsteps.
I want a squirrel.
Don't touch that squirrel's nuts.
Why is everything here completely pointless?
But only one
Candy doesn't have to have a point. That's why it's candy.
will find his heart.
Hold on.
Johnny Depp. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Wow.
And welcome back. So, as you can tell from the trailer and from everything I said beforehand, we have watched Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. This is the version from 2005. It was directed by Timothy Burton. It is from the novel by Roald Dahl. This is actually the screenplay written by John August. It stars Jonathan Depp, Frederick Highmore, and David Kelly. So that'd be Freddie Highmore for any of those who are curious. But this is a dark comedy, supernatural fantasy, teen fantasy, adventure comedy, family musical. I think that's enough little things there. But this is a co-production of the United Kingdom and United States that is sitting on a 6.7 on IMDb and a 3.3 on Letterboxd. Synopsis is: Charlie, a young boy from an impoverished family, and 4 other kids win a tour of the amazing chocolate factory run by an imaginative chocolatier, William Wonka, and his staff of Oompa Loompas. So, this is one that you've seen a good handful of times.
Yes, I have.
This is my first time watching it all the way through. I know somebody in college put it on in the dorm, and I know I've seen a couple things here and
Bits
there.
and pieces.
Yeah, but I've never actually sat down and watched it all the way through.
So what'd you think about it?
It's better than I thought. I also have issues with... I don't think it's horrible. I think it's passable. But, there's things that I did enjoy about it, but there's just... It's hard because I grew up with the original. And so it's hard for me to shut my brain off on comparing the two. I won't do it when I actually write my review, but, it's fine.
I do want to point out, though, that this isn't a remake of the original movie.
No, you're right. It's a reimagining the novel.
Yeah. So it's more because the other one is Willy Wonka. This is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So it's based off of the book.
That's fine. But I also feel like that's an argument of semantics about what name goes in the title as opposed to
But I think this one sticks closer to the book.
Which is what you had said while we were watching this.
Which the book is, again, wildly different. Things just are different. So
yeah.
I appreciate when a movie tries to stick closer to a book. But there were whimsical things that I did miss about the original, like the Candyman song and
Agreed.
the classics that come from that.
Agreed. No, I mean, I definitely agree with you there that song being left out was a bummer. It was actually kind of interesting that when we were watching this, I noticed in the credits while we were talking to your mom that, like, the songs in this are actually songs that must have been in the book.
4 out of 5 of them are.
Okay, that makes sense.
I double-checked with that.
Because when I was watching, I was like, it made me pause and interrupt our conversation to be like, Roald Dahl wrote the lyrics for all these, and then it was just that, Danny Elfman wrote music to it and then did the different, like, musical inspirations for all the different songs.
Yeah, which is an interesting touch. So when I read this book, I listened to it on...
You did an audiobook.
Yeah. So I think there's some things that I miss just because when you listen to stuff at 1.5 speed like I do with your child in the car, it makes things a little more difficult.
That's
but there's some things that I just forgot. But I do remember like the glass elevator being different this time than it was with the original Gene Wilder one.
And I know for a fact that this was read to me when I was in like 4th grade. So I know I was going to Sand Creek at that time. And I remember like a teacher just walking around the classroom while we were all being quiet and reading us the book, because I didn't realize until like I distinctly remember her when she finished reading it telling us about how there is a sequel to this, and then you clarified that it's Charlie and the Glass Elevator.
Yes.
So I knew that. I've never read either of the books that I can remember.
The second one isn't. I did not like it.
Interesting.
I will not be listening to that again. Maybe I'd like it if I read it.
That's fair. Something else I kind of found interesting here as well is that this one actually plays more into giving the backstory to Willie and why he is the way he is. And you said that's also from the book.
Yes. More into the kids, more into Willie, more into what happens after Charlie wins.
Yeah.
Which I liked, just because in the other one he wins and that's it, happy ending.
Well, they fly off in his
glass elevator.
Glass elevator, yeah.
And this one you get to see that they actually work together, and it's a little bit more, you tie up the loose ends.
That's fair. Where did you want, anything you wanted to go to next then?
I thought it's a whimsical movie.
Yeah.
I like the candy scene where you can eat everything better in the original.
Yeah.
Just, I think
there's
they do.
Little good touches there where like we have like Gene sitting down and taking the teacup and like sipping it, drinking it, and then eating it is kind of a fun little thing there.
Well, the biggest difference between Wonka's is that Gene eats the candy where Willie doesn't, or Johnny Depp doesn't really eat the candy.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
He does, like, he'll eat it and stuff, but he doesn't really indulge himself like the other one.
That's kind of interesting. Now that you bring it up is, And another thing I noticed is that we were kind of talking about it is I was prepared for Depp to play this much more quirky because that's just him by nature. He's actually a little bit more mean-spirited than I realized, as opposed to how Gene plays this role.
I forgot the same. He doesn't really like kids.
No.
Well,
he doesn't like family.
He doesn't like family. It's a hot topic for him. And it sounds like he represents Roland.
Yeah.
Because Roland is notorious for not liking spoiled and disrespectful children. So it's almost like he embodies...
Well, what's funny, because when we were watching this, you had said that he hated kids at first. And like I was like, wait a minute. He wrote like some of the most beloved children's books of all time.
Yeah, he doesn't like bad kids. And then we laughed.
I think he might have also wrote Matilda.
Because we don't like bad kids either.
Yeah. I mean,
Who does? But
we also brought up, though, there's not really bad kids.
Right.
Every kid in this movie has shown bad behavior, and their parents are actually to blame here because they don't do anything to, like, curb it. Or, like, they either just let it happen, and then the kids have gotten to the point where you can't break it anymore. Or you have it where, like, if you haven't tried breaking it, they encourage it. And I mean that with, in this version for Violet.
Yeah.
And her mother is, like, very competitive. So her daughter's very competitive. Where the other kids, I think, are just, they're doing bad things and their parents are just kind of coddling them to do it.
Right. I would agree with you there. We also talked about how we think this represents some of the 7 deadly sins.
And I've never clicked on that, like, because Augustus would be gluttony. And then it would be Violet would be pride because of like the trophies and her always bringing up how she's won all these competitions and everything.
Veruca would be greed.
And then TV would be sloth.
Yes.
Which in this one, he's actually a little bit, he's more, I actually think that works better in the original because that kid just watches TV, where this kid is actually a video game player, which not
makes
overly,
him seem smarter and
he's
more
also
tech savvy.
And he's also more aggressive in this one. Where,
very aggressive.
So, I mean, that's where that one kind of makes it, he might also be Wrath in this version because he is very angry.
Maybe they're both.
And I do love that Johnny Depp literally every time that kid's talking is just like, you're mumbling, I can't understand you.
They do that in the original.
Do they?
Gene Wilder, every once in a while he's like, your mom, like, I feel like he does. I remember him being like, I can't hear you.
There's one part where somebody says something he doesn't want to hear, and then he does play that joke.
So I couldn't remember if that was
now that you mention
it or not. But
I think this one's funnier though, because he definitely does it to this kid like 3 times, and then by the end of it, he like yells at him about it.
He's like, mumbler. No, so I just thought this was a good one. Tim Burton is a wild director.
Yeah. Well, he's been inspired by German Expressionism, which I love. He likes a lot of things that there's not a lot of, like, this one's actually more with straight edges and, like, perfect angles. It's less about, like, the weird, quirky stuff that you'd get in, like, Nightmare Before Christmas is definitely that, but it's actually more of a Edward Scissorhands, where you have a lot of that type of stuff where it's surreal, where this one is surreal, but like you said, he's actually using more of the novel where everything is very high tech, and that's not something you get in the original movie as much.
Right. I also like how this movie pays homage to other people's movies. Like, one of the fun facts, the toothpaste company is called Smilex.
Okay.
With an I.
Okay.
And that pays homage to the poison that the Joker uses.
Oh, yeah.
Smilex, which
From
is
Batman,
spelled with
the
a
OG,
Y.
yeah.
So just things like that.
Well,
and
then,
there's I missed it, but apparently at the end when Johnny's talking to the psychiatrist Oompa Loompa, apparently you can see the hill from Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, I did not notice
I didn't
that,
notice that either. So I love when movies get creative and...
Well, I mean, I was telling you while we were watching it, the monkeys that are on the TV for the Mr. TV, like the TV families, like
Mike TV.
Mike TV. I'm looking. His dad is literally staring at like his pictures, looking into my soul. And I see his name, but they're showing 2001: A Space Odyssey, but they're messing with it. Where instead of having this weird like disc thing that these apes are worshiping that might make them smarter, which would create us to become human from them. This one, it becomes the chocolate bar, and that's where they take it from. And I was like, oh, that's kind of fun that they're playing with. But they also use the music from that one. But I wouldn't be shocked here just because Stanley Kubrick did 2001, and I'm sure that he has influenced Tim Burton. Like most filmmakers are influenced by such great directors like that.
Right. I was reading through the trivia. There's so much
Anytime
that I quit reading because there's just so much with that. But I thought the cast was great.
Yeah.
I thought it's a fun movie. I would like to show Mackenzie and sequel it in the future, but I don't know if she would enjoy it right now.
Not right now. It'd be tough.
Maybe she's only 2.5 and sequel's negative days old.
That's fair. I would actually want to bring up here is this one actually makes Grandpa Joe not such a villain to me.
Yeah.
Because, like, yeah, he's been confined to bed, but he's also, like, I don't know, they humanized him way more in this one, where in the first one, he's literally just this guy who...
POS.
Yeah, and then he, like, the moment that everything goes down, he all of a sudden pops up and starts dancing around and everything.
To me, in this one, the grandparents, everyone just seems so depressed that they couldn't go on.
Yeah.
Which still makes them a villain to me, because obviously we don't want our elderly people working. Oh, they could be sloth.
They probably, like, at least in this version, they'd be more sloth then.
They all could do it, because by the end of the movie, they're all out of bed.
Yeah.
It seems as if they just didn't have anything to live for, and life got hard, which that happens to me sometimes, where you just can't keep going, but they're living on one income, and there's 6 adults and 1 kid. That's kind of a big deal.
Well, then it makes it tough, because in this one, Mr. Bucket loses his job.
Right.
At first.
And then he ends up getting a better
job,
one,
yeah.
But no, I like that you see the grandparents become better and their life does get better.
Yeah, agreed. Anything else you wanted to talk about with this movie?
No, I think we're good.
I'll go over then to just kind of go through the cast. We've already brought up, Johnny. That's why we're here. Freddie Highmore. It's kind of interesting that we had just watched him in Finding Neverland, which you had confirmed that he got recommended by Johnny because...
He was so impressed with him.
I mean, he's a great actor now. He's actually one of the rarities where he was a strong actor as a boy, and he's just gotten even better as an adult.
I've not seen anything he's been in as an adult.
There's been a handful of things I've seen him in. Like I said, he was Norman Bates in Bates Motel, like the TV show, and I think he does a very good interpretation of Anthony Perkins, where he has that boy next door, just a little bit awkward, and people aren't as nice to him, and he does portray that great.
He doesn't seem threatening either.
Yeah, which makes it even more terrifying. When that's actually one of the big things why Psycho worked, is that Anthony Perkins looks such like the boy next door that it made it terrifying to the audience, because they're like, wait, this guy could be a killer?
Yeah, because you have an idea of what a killer looks like.
Because in the original novel that Anthony Block wrote, he's actually heavy set, sweaty, and kind of like gross. So like, so Hitchcock intentionally changed it to make it where like he's more non-assuming.
Huh.
Well, because actually, Psycho is loosely based off of Ed Gein, who was like a farmer and kind of was weird. So like that's why the novel is more like the real guy.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Just kind of running through some other cast here. We haven't even brought up that at the time, Burton's Boo Thang, Helena Bonham Carter is the mother's Mrs. Bucket. She's wonderful. Noah Taylor, his
bad
dad.
Teeth in this movie.
Yeah.
I can't you can just tell they're bad.
Oh, yeah.
On purpose.
On purpose. Noah Taylor, her husband, I've seen him in a handful of things. He's more of a character actor.
Okay, I didn't recognize him.
Missy Pyle, you've probably seen her, Mrs. Beauregard in this one, in some things.
Oh, I've seen her in
she's
stuff
a blonde
before.
that has been in just a
She's
slew.
never the star.
No, she's always like a minor character, and she also reminds me of in Entourage when Ari's college buddy shows up with the young, hot, like...
Yeah.
I get those two mixed up a lot because they look
I'm
a
not
lot alike.
picturing her face right now.
That's fair. Like, just know that similar features, similar looks, but the other one's Leslie Bibb, or not Leslie Bibb, it's something like that. Like,
okay.
And I get those two. Deep Roy is all the Oompa Loompas, which I did not like.
That was my biggest hang up and still is. So apparently they increased his pay to $1 million because he had to redo so many things. Yeah. It's not like he did one dance move and they just replicated it.
Oh, no.
They had him do it from different angles and different things, and he learned to dance for this movie. And so they increased his pay, which I think is wonderful, but he was repeating.
While watching this, like every individual dance move, now some of those were replicated.
They use CGI to...
If people were doing the same exact move, they would just mimic him. But everything that's doing a specific dance, he would have to do that. And he would do that without anything around that area. And then what they would end up doing is using camera techniques is to, like, mesh that in like that. So like I will give him credit. I don't like having just one
I
look
hate
to the Oompa Loompas but I digress. it makes sense.
Yeah, I'm glad they paid him more, and then it's not him singing, but it's Danny Elfman, and they manipulate his voice.
Yeah, because some of them have such different, distinct voices for some of the songs.
Yes,
I didn't really care for the songs as much in this one.
No, me either.
But I do give them credit for at least like
they're doing something Ronaldo's, different. So
yeah, Ronaldo. This is not even the great late Christopher Lee is in this, so this is another movie that I can tick off of. He is my third most seen actor now behind Johnny Depp because of this show. Huh?
Who's second?
Johnny Depp.
Well, who's first?
Oh, Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, okay.
The Avengers stuff.
Got it.
Just had him.
I would think Johnny might overtake.
Samuel still has like a 10-movie lead, but maybe. Now, Christopher Lee is going to beat every one of them because he has 239 credits. So like by the time I actually work through all of his horror output, I will have him back. He might even be number one for me, but right now he's third.
Oh, okay.
Anna Sophia Robb, another one actually who is a child actress, and she's kind of done a little bit more as an adult. Doesn't do a whole lot.
Violet, right?
Yes. Yep.
Her dad, fun fact about her, developed a lot of jaw cramps because of all the gum she had to chew.
I bet.
And her parents told her not to smack her lips because they couldn't stand it. Mm-hmm. But the director, Timothy, wanted her to smack her lips because it made her more obnoxious.
Yeah, you want her to be as annoying as possible. That's all I was going to do then for the cast list, unless you had anybody that I left out.
No, I don't think so.
Anything else you kind of wanted to finish out talking about for this movie here?
No, I said all my little pieces throughout.
Perfect. And then let's get over then to the Johnny Depp performance here. I mean, this is kind of classic.
What a weirdo. Like, if you met this guy in real life, you'd be creeped out.
Yeah, because, I mean, he definitely has, like, fake teeth and then his hairdo, and he's just so, like... They use such weird filters here to make everybody look so, like, perfect, or at least to, like, make them pop. But, yeah, this is... When I think of Johnny Depp, like, this is up there with Scissorhands and...
This is an iconic role for him.
Even though I don't think it's better than the Wilder... I even think Timothée Chalamet plays it better, but I think it's good for this movie and what the tone they're going for.
It fits everything. He actually tried his voice out on his daughter, Lily Rose, and she laughed, so that's what he went with.
Okay.
And
it is funny. It did make me laugh a lot with how his snarky lines that he delivers in that voice is great.
Marilyn Manson wanted to play Willy Wonka.
That actually wouldn't have been horrible.
No. And it was rumored that Johnny Depp based his performance off of Marilyn Manson.
Okay, I can see that.
But Johnny denied it and said he based it off of what he thought George W. Bush would be like stoned.
Which is ironic because George Bush used to get stoned.
Really?
Like, yeah, like the younger, like the second one who was president. Oh, yeah. Big cocaine user.
Really?
Back in the day. Oh, yeah.
I guess when I think of stoned, I think of weed. And
I don't know if he did that, but I mean,
yeah, because he's rich.
He was wild.
Got that Texas money.
I mean, I will say the movie W is actually really fun to watch.
I've never seen it.
It's pretty good. I have it. Josh Brolin plays W.
W. Anyways, I thought this was a weird performance, but so fitting for Johnny.
Yeah, agreed.
I think he plays it well. I think he's convincing. I don't know who would play it better besides maybe Marilyn Manson, but I don't know. I've only seen him act in one thing when he kills Juice, and that's sad to me. But
well, he was in a lot of episodes during like that.
I literally only remember
the
one because I didn't like that season.
Yeah, they go visit him a few different times in that season, and I think maybe in the season after.
Doesn't Juice die in the last season?
I'm not talking about Juice.
Oh, I am.
I'm talking about Marilyn Manson.
Well, I thought that was the last season of SOA.
He's in more than he's in a few episodes. That's all I'm saying.
We can argue about anything at this point.
Yes, we can, and we do.
And we do. Sorry, the baby is kicking the crap out of me right now. I was worried because I hadn't felt it in a while. I regret thinking that.
Always do.
Always do.
But yeah, so are you going to come off of The Libertine?
No way.
Yeah, me neither. I'm definitely going to stick with that one. This one, though, this one I think would have rivaled, Edward Scissorhands for me as
Agreed.
A potential switch off.
What about The Headless Horseman?
I think I might still go Headless Horseman over this one here. But I think he just shows a little bit more range in that one, where this one he's just quirky and kind of a jerk, and I do love that. I love the snarky comments because that's literally what I do to our daughter on the regular.
He's getting a dirty look. Well, they egg each other on, and then I have to deal with it.
And when you get upset, I have to deal with it.
Hey, it worked today.
It did work today, actually. Well done. I guess anything else then before we jump out to go to the trailer for Corpse Bride?
No, I'm excited for Corpse Bride. You've not seen this one?
This is another one that I don't know if I've ever seen all the way through or not.
That's fair.
I know I've
seen it many a times.
I know I've seen a good portion of it because I know the setup, and I know that Jack Skellington is in this movie not as Jack Skellington, but there's a character that it's the character that they use the parts from Skellington.
I probably wasn't paying attention to it.
But I mean, I know
Helena Bonham Carter.
Yeah, because she plays the corpse, right?
Yeah. She's the Corpse Bride.
Yeah, and then Johnny is
Victor.
Is Vincent. Again, they use the parts that Tim Burton used for the short Vincent, and they just twerk it. They tweak it a bit.
Yeah, they twerk it.
they tweak it a bit for it to be his character.
Got it. Okay.
So then, let's go ahead and jump out then for the trailer for Corpse Bride, and we'll come right back to discuss.
They were due to be married, though they'd never before met. His parents were thrilled. Hers were filled with regret. But in a moment of panic, Victor desperately fled, and by a grave misunderstanding, married the corpse bride instead.
You may kiss the bride.
From Tim Burton, creator of The Nightmare Before Christmas,
Maggots.
comes a tale of wit, charm, and strife.
I'm not dead.
About a timid young man and the love of his life.
Victoria!
Tim Burton's Corpse Bride.
To the newlyweds.
And welcome back. So, for this one, as you could tell from that trailer, we're going to be covering Corpse Bride. This is from 2005. This is co-directed between Timothy Burton and Mike Johnson. And then the writers here are Burton, Carlos Grangle, and John... Actually, that's not fully true. Let me get these correct. The characters are credited to Burton and Grangle. Now, the screenplay was written by John August, Carolyn Thompson, and Pamela Petler. This stars Jonathan Depp, Helena Bonham Carter, and Emily Watson. This is a, strap in, there's a lot here, dark fantasy, stop-motion animation, comedy, drama, family, fantasy, musical romance film that is from the United States. Currently sitting on a 7.4 on IMDb and a 3.9 on Letterboxd. Synopsis: when a shy groom practices wedding vows in the inadvertent presence of a deceased young woman, she rises from the grave, assuming he has married her. So, I have come to the conclusion while we were watching this, I had never seen this all the way through. So this is technically then my first time watch.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah. I have seen some of them. I've seen when he goes to the underworld and that whole song where Danny Elfman is singing as Bone Jangles. Mm. And I've seen bits and pieces here and there. Like, I'm pretty sure I've seen part of the beginning as well where he's like practicing his vows and stuff. But this is, the first time I've ever seen this fully.
Really? What'd you think?
It's good. I mean, I was telling you, this is like a more polished Nightmare Before Christmas. Mm-hmm. Songs aren't as good, but like...
Agreed.
The stop motion is much more crisp. There's also probably much better technology in the 11 years between the two movies.
They said they used a lot of better cameras, better just technology. They knew a little bit more what to expect, so that makes sense.
I mean, it's also a different filmmaking team outside of, like, Burton. But, like, I did notice as well, I didn't read too much, they actually used puppets.
They did. They had 13 to 14 puppets for the main characters.
Okay. That makes sense. 'Cause, like,
I didn't know what they meant by puppets, because I didn't know what Jack and Sally were called. Dolls?
I mean, it's more like, they're similar. These ones, I think, were...
I think of puppets like Sesame Street, which obviously isn't
these are more of, like, clay. Like, I'm pretty sure I don't... Now that I'm thinking back, we watched that making of for Nightmare Before Christmas.
I know they had a lot of different heads,
yeah,
but I don't think they had different bodies.
No, for the most part, it was different heads, and, like, they would move the... Like, a lot of stop motion is done with clay figures, where they use almost like the... what is it? The stuff you would use in a funeral home when you're fixing, like, the face of people. That, I can't think of what the mortician's clay.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, like...
Sorry, I was like embalming fluid.
No, like, if people have, like, blemishes or something, they'll use that type of clay and stuff to help get everything smoothed out and whatnot. And actually, I've also watched a movie recently, or last year, of stop motion, where she talks about it.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Interesting.
Yep. But yeah, this one, because I also, like, I didn't look into trivia because I know you'd get mad at me. But when I was doing my review earlier today, I know they brought up in the little bit of trivia that I saw that, like, it's not like Wallace and Gromit where they still use, like, the clay figures.
Right. This was different, so that's why it's still considered stop motion, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
Which I think gives it a little bit more. I think that's why they call it puppets, but I'm not sure.
So yeah, so that's something I just kind of found interesting, that they use kind of like more puppets and dolls instead of something that was a little bit more... I mean, these are malleable. Like, they can move them around and do different things, but...
Yeah, I'm curious how big they are in comparison to Jack and Sally.
I bet they're probably pretty close.
You think?
Yeah, I bet they're probably about, like... like the size of, like, a Barbie. Round about there.
In my head, they're much bigger.
I don't think so. Like, because then you have to make the background much bigger.
That's true. That's true.
So, I mean, usually it's kind of like, I would say between like 6 and like 12 inches, maybe 18 tops.
Interesting.
Yep. So, anything you wanted to talk about here?
I didn't find a lot of fun facts.
Which is shocking.
The fun facts were very long to read.
Yeah, I skip over
and
those. I'm
I
too tired.
can't do it. I do know that Christopher Lee's in this one.
The legend.
Johnny Depp, Helena Bonham Carter.
You're taking my thing.
A lot of the same characters from Nope. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory are in it. So
It goes farther back than that. A lot of these people are from Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah, that got brought up as well. So I thought it was interesting. You can tell, like, they obviously all get along and are very creative together.
Yeah.
Why get other people in it?
Well, I mean...
And Danny Elfman as well. Obviously, they all work well together.
I mean, that kind of goes back to the thing. I mean, this has been going on since... I mean, it used to be contracts and stuff. But, like, Rob Zombie does this, where he literally just works with his core group of people. He'll add and subtract
like the
people.
Adam Sandler group.
Yep.
But if you get along and it's creative and you're successful, why would you change it?
Yeah. And you just kind of ad-lib people in here and there as you go. So...
Yeah, I thought this was Johnny Depp and Helena's
second. Well, the first time that they actually are acting back and forth with each other.
Oh, I was gonna say it's their first voice acting.
Oh.
Sorry, I just did the sign for it.
No, you're fine.
It's their first voice acting, and it's Warner Brothers' only stop-motion film.
Oh, interesting. Did not know that.
So, the fun facts are kind of basic, but I think this is just... how it was. They were filming this at the same time as Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
I think that's one of the perks of doing voice acting, though, is that like you can jump back and forth.
I think that would be so hard for your mind to flip, especially Johnny's.
We also have to think, though, a lot of it's not even them. A lot of it's they're filming the stop motion stuff. And you don't necessarily need the actors. Like, they know, like, you can literally go in and record all your stuff and then turn around and then they can animate to it or vice versa.
That's true. Just interesting.
Yeah.
Could you imagine being Willy Wonka 1 minute and then you're this timid,
lowly bachelor?
Groom.
Yeah. I mean, something I kind of found interesting. This isn't listed as a horror movie, and I mean, I guess you could kind of...
It should be, shouldn't it?
I mean, I would at least say this is a good gateway horror movie.
Or children's horror.
Yeah, like where you're...
Sounds...
I mean, cause it's not technically, I guess, scary. Because, I mean, even, like...
It's dark.
It's dark. I mean, there's a lot of death and stuff like that. But, I mean, everybody who's dead is very jovial. Like, they're almost like they're enjoying death. And the only time it gets really creepy is when they come up for the wedding.
Everybody's dying to get down there.
Yeah, that's true. That's even what was said. But, like, for me, the scene when they come up for the wedding, that gets terrifying until you realize, oh, no, these people are just looking for their loved ones and they just want to go to this wedding.
Right. It's their moment of joy, especially because Victor's so willingly doing it.
At that point.
At that point, yes. I don't know. I thought this movie is sweet. It definitely has a lot of forgiveness in it, and you have change of hearts for a lot of the characters throughout.
Well, I also kind of put down in my review that there's actually an interesting thing here about wedding vows and keeping, like, your oath. Because, like, at first, Victor doesn't want to marry the corpse bride for good reason, because, I mean, she's dead. But, like...
Obvious.
As things kind of go on, I almost feel like part of it's that he's very timid, and that he doesn't want to do something negative by, like, telling her no, they can't get married. And it gets to the point where he, like, just kind of embraces it.
Well, that, and he thinks Victoria's...
already
married.
The
So,
other thing is that
she
she's supposed to be
technically
getting married, and then, which is actually kind of some interesting things there, since this is, spoilers and everything. I find it interesting that he is holding up his vows because he did put the ring on to Emily's finger, aka the corpse bride, and that he believes that they are now married, and he's going to keep that thing, and he's willing to go forward to make sure that they're
essentially commit suicide
in order to stay married. But then you have the elder, who is done by Michael Gogh, who comes in and is saying, like, well, no, like, he has to die in order for your guys' thing. So he's like, all right, let's go up and have a wedding then. But it's kind of interesting that their vows are actually are not binding, because their death has done them part.
Yes.
And then that's kind of what ends up happening then, why he can actually marry Victoria at the end, which I think is weird. It's Victor and Victoria. But it's kind of interesting
because Lord Warkus then dies, so her marriage is now over.
Is now null and void, because now she's a widower. And
she's a widow.
Yeah, sorry.
Widower is male.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Like the black widow spider's a female spider.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess I never correlated that. Mm-hmm. Which is funny because there are black widow spiders in this one.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of them. I also
They're all female.
That's true. I also kind of find it interesting that they have this maggot who is living in the Corpse Bride. And he has a lot of funny jokes about, like, I can see inside your, I see your mind. And,
I would have thought you lost your mind, but I was just inside it.
And how they make him look like Peter Lorre.
Yes.
Who was in M. Actually, I was thinking about that. He's the villain in M.
Oh, really?
The guy who's kind of bug-eyed. And he's also in Casablanca. Very, very short amount of time in that movie. Anything else you want to talk about here before I shift over to discussing the rest of the cast here?
Nope, I'm good.
Like you said, I have a lot of people in this movie. Johnny, of course. Helena Bonham Carter. Both of them we know a lot about them.
Yes.
Emily Watson, she's a little British actress who she's a little bit older. Like she's probably around like Helena's age. I've seen her do a lot of motherly roles. You've probably seen her in something.
Probably, yeah.
And we just not like correlate that is her. I'm actually going to pull it up real quick to see if I can do something here as I stall for time a little bit. She was in Punch Drunk Love. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Nope.
I've never seen it either. She was in, just trying to see here if anything pops out to me. She was in a version of Little Women, but I don't think either of us have seen this TV miniseries from 2017. This is loading slowly, of course, because this is how things go for me. She was in, you've never seen Red Dragon, War Horse. You ever see that? No. You might not have seen her then in anything.
No, I don't recognize any of the...
I've seen some of these posters, and I've seen a few of these movies. Anyways, Tracy Ullman, who plays the mother to Johnny Depp, she was in... I only know her because she was a comedian, and she had a show on HBO when we were in, like, elementary school.
Really?
So, like, I would see... Like, I knew her name because, like, the HBO commercials would say it before the movie started. But I don't know if I've seen her in anything outside of that.
Interest.
But Victoria's father is Albert Finney, and he is in... Let me make sure that I have the right guy, because I think he might be in... the Bourne movies, maybe.
Big Fish?
He's in, the Bourne movies. He's the guy.
I know who he is.
Yeah.
He's the dad in Big Fish.
I've never seen it. He's the boss in Aaron Brockovich, and he's also the, like, he runs the nefarious program in the Bourne movies.
I don't remember a lot
That's
of the
fair.
Bourne movies.
But
no, I know who he is. He's the old guy in Big Fish, which
Never
I
seen
think is also a Tim Burton movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's a weird movie.
Richard E. Grant, who plays Barkis Bitrin, I know him because he was a witch hunter in the original Warlock movie back in the day. But he's been in a lot of stuff. Like, you've probably seen him just because he's one of those guys, like, I didn't expect to actually do as much as he has. But now that he has been around for a while, he's in About Time.
Not seen it.
He was in Dracula. You probably haven't seen that one yet. The Hitman's Bodyguard. I don't know if you've watched that or not. I think you might have put that on. He's in Spice World. Yeah, so he's been in just a lot. He's a British dude, so like I figured he was going to be in a Harry Potter movie, but of course he hasn't. Christopher Lee, we know him. Michael Gove, he was Alfred in a lot of the Batman movies. He's actually in like all of the Tim Burton Batman movies, and then all the ones that were following that one. So he's an older guy. By the time we would have seen him, I also know him because he was in a lot of Hammer stuff with Christopher Lee back when he was younger. Deep Roy, the little Indian actor from the last movie, Charlie, Danny Elfman. I think it's about the extent. What were you going to say, though, before?
I truly don't know.
Okay, I think it would have been Michael Gove, Batman.
Oh, I just think of the one that
Michael
also...
Caine.
Yeah, that's the one I think of.
That's fair.
When you said Alfred, and I can't think of anybody else.
That's fair. So anything else then that you would like to talk about here before we start talking about why we are here?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So what do you think about Johnny Depp's performance in this one?
I don't...
It is hard when you can't see his facial expressions or anything like that. You're just kind of going off of like what he says and how he talks.
I think voice acting and full acting are so very different. Yeah. Yes, it's still acting, it still counts, but it's not in the same category.
Okay, that's fair.
Because he doesn't have to do anything with his body language or things like that. So, great voice acting, woohoo. I I don't think it's in the same league as even his worst.
See,
film
I slightly
acting.
disagree there because he can put inflection and he can bring his character to life with his voice.
Could be hard to do, right?
It is. But there's some people,
But
this is what their whole career is just voice acting.
I just think to me, it's comparing apples to oranges.
Okay.
I think voice acting would be so hard. So I'm not discounting it all, but it's hard to compare this to him being Willy Wonka to being Jack Sparrow because you only get to see a part of it, and I think this character's boring.
Yeah.
I think Victor's so boring.
By design, yeah.
So I don't think there's a lot of depth to Mr. Depp in this movie.
I was actually going to bring something up real quick, is when we were watching Zootopia, I don't know what character he played, but there was a voice actor, Joe DiMaggio, and I only bring him up, I believe that's what his name is, because I was literally watching an anime that's like a horror movie from like the early 2000s, mid 2000s maybe, and he was in that one as well. So like, it's funny that this year I've watched him in 2 different animated features, and he's one of those guys that he has like 300 credits for his voice acting because that's what he does. They do a lot of video games and stuff too.
Which I think, again, would be so hard. It's hard to compare it.
That's fair. So I'm assuming you're going to stick with the Libertine.
Yes, I am.
See, like I said, I disagree. I do think voice acting
So you're going to move?
No, I'm sticking with the Libertine, but I think there is more to voice acting than that I'm going to give credit to.
Agreed. I just think it's...
I would put this ahead of some of his earlier works, and his more iconic roles, I can't put this in over those per se, just because it is a very dull character by design. Like, he's supposed to be this way, but that's just kind of...
Sometimes those are the characters you play.
Yeah, that's fair. So anything else you want to talk about here before we end this episode out?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Well, then I will just say that the next episode is going to be fun because it is going to be a Pirates double feature.
Oh, yeah.
As we are going to be doing Dead Men's Chest and At World's End as they came out in back-to-back years. So we're going to be in 06 and 07 there.
Wow. Fast forward to our graduating years. No. When did you graduate? 05?
I would have graduated the year this came out. Corpse Bride.
Oh, I was 2 years behind you. I think I always forget that.
Yeah. But we graduated...
College at the same time.
Did you graduate early?
No.
What year did you graduate?
11.
I graduated in 10, so I graduated a year before you.
Super senior.
Let's go. Anything else that you want to say before we close out?
Well, I don't know when our next episode's going to come out.
Well, at least this one will be in the March episode, so as long as we can get something done for...
This is the February episode.
No.
This is March?
Yes. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's why we jumped ahead to work on this.
Oh, well, that's good.
Behind the curtain.
Oh, just delete that, but you'll probably leave it in because I'm super awkward. Sometimes. Oh, I was thinking this was the February episode.
No, we snooped out the February episode. I'm in the middle of editing it, just so everybody knows here. But no, this is the March episode because we wanted to work ahead because we weren't sure. We were most positive we're probably not going to record anything in March unless it's late.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, perfect. We're right on schedule.
We caught back up.
We did. Look at that. And then we'll have 2 kids.
Yeah, by the time that because this is being recorded here on Baby's Eve.
Mm-hmm. So we'll have 2 kids by the time this comes out. I'm very tired, so
yeah, that's fair.
My apologies for lack of enthusiasm tonight.
That's fair. So then, I am one half of your hosting duo here of David Garrett Jr., and I am signing off.
And I'm the other half of Jamie Frisch Garrett.
Okay, bye.
It had been a wonderful evening, and what I needed now to give it the perfect ending